To call this meeting to order, the special meeting of the Village of Villa Park Village Board of Trustees, December 20th, 2021. Clerk Konecki, please call the roll.
Trustee Silella?
Here.
Trustee Corkery?
Here.
Trustee Kozar?
Here.
Trustee Kumar? Trustee Murphy? Here. Trustee Patrick?
Here.
President Casson.
Here. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If we could please remain standing for a moment. Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together this evening. May we have meaningful discussions that will help us to assist our village in these trying times. Help us share these meaningful discussions that will affect the staff, directors, and residents of Villa Park. Guide us through the challenges we face, and may we approach each other with respect and kindness as one group. In your name, amen. Amen. Okay, since this is a special meeting, we do have public comments on agenda items. Clerk Konecki, we have people signed up.
Yes, we have. The first one I have is Dave Limardi.
Dave Limardi.
Yeah, Dave Limardi. Is Dave here? Okay, well, we'll go to the next person until Dave gets here. Okay, Ray Search. Ray Rupp Search.
Good evening. Ray Rupp Search, former president, village president, and past president of the DuPage Mayors and Managers. In all my time involved with local politics and county politics, I don't think I've ever run across a situation such as we're confronting here tonight. I was always in the impression that the Grinch was a storybook character, but apparently he's alive and well in Villa Park. And you all know the old Santa Claus is checking his list, checking those who have been naughty and nice. So for those who are leading this little event for tonight, I have something for you from Santa. It's a little early, but it's because you haven't played nice this year. So this is on behalf of those who disagree with what you're doing.
That goes to you, doesn't it? Well,
Thank you, Ray. Appreciate that.
It is full. Thank you, Ray.
Thank you, Ray. Okay, Tom King next. Tom.
Good evening. I'm Tom King. I'm a resident of Villa Park and a former commissioner of the Parks and Recreation Commission. There are three things that we expect as a community from our village government. Village government comprising of elected and appointed officials, civil servants, village employees, and contractors. Number one, the first thing we expect, integrity. Integrity is the practice of being honest and showing a consistent and uncompromising adherence to strong moral and ethical principles. Ethical actions, honesty, moral principles that are absolutely necessary for this community to function. Number two, transparency. Transparency meaning to disclose and communicate all necessary information and issues to this community. Also, making yourself available to communicate and answer questions that members of this community have. Number three, democracy. Democracy meaning not forgetting who comes first. The group that comes first in the village of Villa Park are the people of Villa Park. You as elected officials work for the people of Villa Park and no one else. That is who elected you, and you need to engage us. We cannot move forward unless you engage us because we are stronger as a community together. These three tenets, integrity, transparency, and democracy, are requested, expected, and demanded from the people of Villa Park to this village board, and we expect nothing less. As Lincoln once said, let us have faith that right makes might, and in that faith, let us to the end dare to do our duty as we understand it. Thanks.
Okay, Dave Limardi.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is David Limardi, and I'm representing Richard Keener, the village manager. As you know, Rich has been employed as the village manager for the last 11 years. I think he has a positive legacy, to say the least, during his 11 years. He has constantly received increases in salary as a result of his performance, and he's very proud of what he has been able to accomplish during his tenure. He has a current employment agreement, which was approved just this past April 26, 2021. At that time, obviously, the village and Rich felt that they wanted this relationship to continue based on his tenure thus far. Well, unfortunately, as it says in his employment agreement, he is an at-will employee. And there were 4 elected officials who believed that they wanted Rich to be relieved of his duties without cause. And that without cause is a very important legal term. So because of his professionalism and because he believes the right thing for the village of Villa Park should be done, Rich and I worked on a separation agreement, which was submitted to the village president this past weekend. We stand ready to negotiate with the village board with regard to that separation agreement, and we believe that reasonable people can come together and we can work out a separation that's in the best interest of all parties. I stand ready to answer any questions you might have, but those are my comments with regard to tonight's agenda item.
Thank you.
Okay, next person we have is Bob Wagner.
Thank you. Bob Wagner, 114 West Monroe. I'm not going to speak to the motivation of what's going on or what's happened this evening. For me, this is a very, very sad event. Sad for me personally. I know it's sad for the village staff and many of our village residents. It's hard to believe that Rich Keener came to us 11 years ago. And through that time, he's been a steady hand for us. He's led us through many challenges. He's been a very successful manager. I've had the opportunity, being inside village government and outside village government, to observe 2 prior village managers. In my estimation, Rich Keener is by far the best. So I was hoping he'd be here this evening, but I want to wish him well. I know that wherever he goes, whatever endeavor he seeks, he's going to be successful, and whatever community gets him, they're going to be lucky to get him. So want to thank him for his almost 11 years of service, and just to add my remarks that he is probably the best village manager I've seen. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Mike Orlowski.
Hi, Mike Orlowski. Been a member of the village for 56 years. I'd have to agree with Ray in all the years that I've been involved with the village, which is probably 30 years. I've never seen a group of trustees act in such a foolish manner. I can speak on behalf of Rich. I know in the beginning, there was a lot of people that didn't like him. I've stood by Rich for a long time. I watched everything that he's done. I've questioned things. Rich has never acted in a bad way for the history of the Village of Villa Park. He's always done what's best for the residents, not for individuals. So if there are, and I know there's individuals here that have personal agendas against certain staff members, which I feel sad, since they don't have enough history here to even know what the staff members do. We have some trustees that I don't think have been paying their own bills long enough to even know what the staff, to know what Rich's job entailed, to make a vote to get rid of somebody that has done such a fantastic job for our village. Our village finally started moving forward. And I think this will be a devastation. As far as the four trustees, I can start from the right. Ms. Kumar, I've called you 4 times. I've sent you 4 emails. I yet to get a response from you. You come to these meetings tonight late.
Hang on, just let's not get personal, please.
You don't even read the agendas. But anyways, I think you guys need to do some soul searching. But Rich did nothing wrong here.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you. Okay, Leslie, Allison C. Leslie?
Good evening. My name is Leslie Allison C.I., and I reside in Villa Park for the last 25 years. I have been attending board meetings on occasion over the last several years. When the new board was seated earlier this year, it was apparent that this was a diverse group of intelligent, dynamic, and thoughtful people who genuinely wanted to serve their community and make it the best that it can be. I've watched you 4 fight for answers for the residents of this village. I've watched you thoughtfully consider agenda items and postpone decisions until you were satisfied that everyone understood clearly what they were voting on and how it would best serve this village. One thing I can confidently say is that you don't take your position on this board lightly, and you don't move forward in reckless abandon. I thank you very, very much for that. Trustee Patrick, Trustee Corkery, Trustee Kozar, and Trustee Kumar don't always agree on issues, but when they do, you can be sure it's the right way to move forward. I am so proud of all of you for standing up for what you believe in so that Villa Park can prosper and grow. You are all there for our community, and we are here tonight for you. We trust you and we respect your opinion. Thank you.
Cheryl Tucker?
So you can hear me and I don't fuck up my glasses. See, I only have 3 minutes. What I really think just isn't enough time in the 3 minutes to stem this. But I just hope the board knows what they are doing and understands the full consequences of your decision tonight, because it will affect all of Villa Park. To me, your timing could not be at a worse time to make this decision and stand up this way. But you all have your own reasons for doing it. Whatever decision you make about Manager Keener won't make a difference in his life. He will have another job. In the meantime, he will live off the 20 weeks severance pay and the benefits the village will be providing him, which anyone that pays attention knows it's not pocket change. But will Villa Park fare as well? As a board, you have just approved the budget and know what Villa Park is, just making it by from the pandemic, which obviously you have figured out a plan of how the village will be able to pay the attorney, Keener, the new person, which needs to be hired in less than a month to stay on schedule to get the paperwork in on time for the grant for the rec center, which, by the way, most of the people of Villa Park have been waiting for on and off for 60 years. Most of you probably don't realize that. Then there is the residents around Lufkin, who were hoping to see exciting things happening here since the pool left. Then there was the possibility of finally getting a pool back with the rec center being built mostly with grant money. That's right, the village will need to come up with their part for the cost of Lufkin, the rec center, and the pool, which might be a little difficult seeing the village will have extra costs now to pay for Rich Keener if he leaves, government tech to replace him, the attorneys, the new village manager, along with any additional costs that will come up with this decision you make. Which brings me to the point of this special meeting tonight. Will it really be in the best interest of the people of Villa Park to get rid of the manager right now instead of giving him a chance? Or is this all about personal vendetta because you felt you weren't getting what you wanted and really didn't care how it affects the people of Villa Park? Whatever decision you make tonight, again, the people of Villa Park will have to watch Elmhurst and Lombard offer what they can't have
30 seconds.
as their hopes and dreams evaporate because the money's not there. The time has run out, which the board is still trying to figure out how to do the best thing for Villa Park. It's a good thing it's Christmas season. We can all hope for a Christmas miracle.
Thanks, Cheryl.
Linda Nystrom.
Hi, good evening, President Kazone and members of the Village Board. It is with disappointment and confusion that I come before you tonight. I do not really understand why you would choose to terminate the employment of Richard Keener as Villa Park's village manager. I'm pretty much a lifelong resident of Villa Park and chose to raise my children here as well. Over these many years, I've seen a lot. I must say that the years while Mr. Keener has been manager, a great amount of work has happened via his leadership and his dedication and the dedication of the trustees who have preceded all of you on this board. Why would you choose to end his leadership and to do it so abruptly? If you have some concerns, did you express them to Mr. Keener? Was he afforded the opportunity to remedy or address the concerns? This potential board action appears to be coming out of a dislike for the village manager rather than any factors since you're terminating without cause. As an outsider to this board, rather than an insider, I realize I may not know everything, but some rationale for his termination should be more apparent to us. Why do you think it's a good idea to treat a dedicated fellow citizen of Villa Park in this fashion? The termination of a village manager is quite a serious action to take. When this proposed action comes as such a surprise to so many, one has to wonder why you're doing this. A person who has served the village with such dedication, sound leadership for many years deserves better than this, especially from those of you who have only been here for 6 months. The cost of this action is also a concern. Administrative leave, severance pay, hiring a special legislative counsel, and search firms are all quite expensive. Have you told the taxpayers of Villa Park what these costs are expected to be? I think not. Do you know the costs? What improvements or services will the village board not be able to provide to Villa Park residents because of these increased and unnecessary costs? Search firms take time to do their job. How long will it be that we will be without sound and strong leadership? Who will take a risk to come to Villa Park as a manager when it has this sort of reputation? It does not bode well that you needed to cancel your scheduled special meeting last Friday, December 17th, because you likely didn't follow the legal requirements in calling the meeting. Now you want us to trust you to do the right thing? Well, you will have to earn that trust. Thank you.
Excellent.
Gabby Gutierrez.
Hi, everyone. So I am the current communications specialist for the Village of Villa Park. I've been with the village for about 2.5 years, and I'm in a unique position where my entire workspace is within the manager's office. So I'm one of a few people who has daily access to the manager, speak to him on a daily basis. You know, we talk about our coffee, whatever. I see him every single day. And I can say without hesitation that he is one of the best managers that I have ever worked with. And he is a firm but also compassionate leader. I've seen him have to deal with really difficult decisions that I think the board doesn't even realize. The amount of decisions that he has to go through every single day. He is one of the best leaders where he will, if you do something wrong, he'll take you aside, he'll tell you what you did wrong, but he will go to bat for you. And will make sure that you are, that they don't attack you, that no one attacks you. I'm just really disappointed in the actions of this board. It's very clear that this is a personal vendetta, or I have no idea what's going on, but it's definitely created a feeling of fear within the village. I'm just disappointed. Thank you.
Thanks, Gaby.
Yeah. We have Al Bolthus.
Good evening. Well, the topic tonight is the termination or resignation of Richard Keener as the village manager. That decision has already been made by the fact that we are here this evening for this discussion. The reason for this termination, in my opinion, is strictly an act of vindictiveness on some members of this board due to some past decisions that were not to their liking, and then persuading other trustees to naively go along without fully understanding the ramifications of this decision. This action by the board is sowing division, not only on this board, but also in our community. By the speed of this action and the process, I believe this action shows a lack of integrity of this board, and once you lose integrity, it's very hard to regain. Let's take some time to go over some of the positives that have been achieved since Manager Keener has been here. Prior to his arrival, the village had a very low cash reserve balance. He improved that balance substantially. We have received many more grants than we have in past years. We have new development coming into town. We have increased the pace of street repair, sewer repairs, and water line replacements. We have replaced old village public works equipment. The trucks from Villa Park in the work department, those are trucks that had rotted out frames and holes in the floorboards. We have purchased new fire engines, one with a partial grant, and new ambulances and other equipment for the fire department. We are equipping our police department with body cameras, established a replacement schedule for police and fire vehicles. All of this has given our employees and residents the best possible service. Let me give you one example of how Manager Keener works for the good of this village. When the St. Charles Bridge over Salt Creek needed replacement, we were told by Elmhurst and the state of Illinois, who share ownership of that bridge, that it was our sole responsibility for this cost of replacement. After many phone calls, Elmhurst agreed to pay their fair share of the repairs, and the state provided a grant to cover the majority of those costs. This requires the skill of a determined negotiator. He is an active member of the Page Mayors and Managers Conference. This gives him and the village the opportunity to work with influential decision makers in the county and in the state. We have established lines of communications with our federal representatives. So that's some of what he has done for the village. Now let me ask this question.
30 seconds.
Why now? Why this termination now? And what does this decision mean? And what's the plan? I have a few concerns. The village's reputation is tarnished. The word gets out to all towns and villages in Page County and beyond about what is happening here. Word travels quickly through the manager community. not just with managers, but with department heads, head positions that need to be filled. This action will make recruitment of new employees very difficult. What does it do for morale? What does it mean to any economic development that has started and or are in negotiation? What does this say about any potential development? The federal government has just passed a large infrastructure bill. This $1 trillion bill would help us replace the many lead pipes that service our village. And we would give us money to service our WWTF treatment facility. If you all know what the WTF treatment facility is, do you know where it's at?
Yeah.
Okay, do you understand the problem?
3 minutes.
So, well,
It's been more than 3 minutes.
recruitment of grant, well, I'm going to keep going. You can drag me out here.
Yeah.
So, what will the cost of this decision be? What does it mean? I ask you, why now? How does this decision help our community? This seems just like a power grab. Ask yourself, Villa Park, to whose advantage? Thank you.
Thanks, Al.
Yeah, I have no one else signed up.
Well, we have anyone else that would like to speak?
We have a resident email. We have that resident email to be read. Can I speak as a resident?
Jennifer Burns. So I just want to stand, I am not Manager Keener's #1 fan. He and I have disagreed quite often on some things. I wish that certain things could have been handled differently or done differently, but I always feel that he was respectful. I also am a former Park and Rec Commissioner as well. And let me tell you, you know, some of these people that are sitting up there, I've attended more board meetings than all of you combined. I've been watching these meetings online, coming in here, and I've seen the dysfunction that has happened in this room, and it was embarrassing. And this was in the late 90s, early 2000s. I've seen some of these village managers we've had here in my lifetime in this village for over 40 years. And I might disagree with Manager Keener, but I never felt that he was trying to swindle the residents of this community. He lived here. He still lives here. I hope he'll continue to live here. He's one of us. And I really sincerely hope that there is some way to fix this wrong. Because unless something else has happened, and again, the 4 signatures that were on this agenda for tonight, I'm extremely skeptical on the motivation. And I also am in, again, if I'm trying to read the tea leaves, I'm thinking this is a personal retaliation and this has nothing to do with his performance. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Good.
Hi, my name is Sam Balsam. I live at 239 Astor. And first, let me just thank the board for taking up a tough job and making these types of decisions. Trust me, I've been in the decision of making employment decisions and having to move in a different direction. I understand that sometimes can be necessary, even if the person is doing a good job. But from my perspective, this move seems sudden and urgent. We're doing this right before Christmas. We couldn't wait to January 3rd. It was so urgent. And that's just something that I don't understand. And I'm hoping, and one reason I'm here is to find out why this move has to be made now. It seems like you can, well, you may have to make that move, but having this vote 5 days before Christmas, not being able to wait until January, what's the urgency? Was there crimes? Was there, was it, if it waits 2 weeks, is something bad going to happen? So I think I speak for a lot of residents who are just sort of surprised. I found out about this meeting kind of on accident, and I'm just hoping to get an explanation on why this move needs to be done and how it'll improve the village. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sam.
My name is Susan Matthews. I live at 326 South Monterey in Villa Park. I've lived in Villa Park since I was 10 years old. I worked for this village part-time, full-time for 44 years. So I've seen a lot of boards, a lot of village managers. To me, this board is on the upswing. You guys are not led around by the nose. You make the manager do his due diligence. You ask department heads to do the same. And I think what you're doing tonight is right on the whole for Villa Park. And for those that are asking why and whatever, having been the executive assistant to the village manager when Rich Keener came here, I can tell you there's a lot of confidentiality that cannot be shared with the public. That's why executive sessions happen. You just need to trust them that they are doing their best on our behalf. And I thank you guys for doing that.
Yeah, thanks, Susan. Okay. Do we have anyone else that would like to speak?
Excuse me, President Kazone, do I have the opportunity to speak as a resident or no?
I think you can speak probably as we go through the motions. I think it would be better than speaking up here again.
Thank you.
Did you want to speak?
Hello, Rich Bijoli. I live on 550 South Princeton. I've met a few of you guys over the years. I've been part of this village since '75. Grew up in town. Wound up being a fireman here in 1995. So I've been on the inside of this for a long time. I think it's more of a character. I understand what you guys are going through. I've been on the inside. I ran for trustee some time ago. As a character to Mr. Keener, as I went through a disability, line of duty disability from the fire department, our pension granted me this. I received a letter from Mr. Keener stating that, no, you are not allowed to have your medical benefits. Under the Disability Act, that should be given to you. He would not allow it. Attorneys tried, he still denied it. Also, as a paramedic, you have to be a paramedic upon hire. There's an opportunity to come back from an injury within a certain amount of time, up to 50 years old. I have to keep my paramedic up. Direct letter that I have from him states I am not allowed to be here to do my continuing education, to keep up my paramedic. And when time came that I was potentially able to come back to work, my medic was gone. So I look at it as a character to this person, for an employee inside, and how I have talked to employees. I've been on the inside. I think what you four are doing right now is very smart for this board. I've watched a police chief get released that should not have been released a long time ago. So keep on doing what you guys are doing. I know it's hard. There's a lot of things you guys got to consider. And like she said, there's a lot of stuff you guys can't talk about, stuff that we will never know about. And if this is your decision, I'm going to stand behind you. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Rick.
Good evening, everyone. Cindy Wood, 617 South Harvard. I just wanted to thank the board for making this decision. I too was once on the inside. Now I'm on the outside looking in. Because of Rich Keener and a manager here. There were false accusations made against me and another coworker, and we were forced to resign, and they weren't transparent. They told people we retired, and that's not the truth. But I will stand by the board, and I stand behind you because I know it's a hard decision. But like the other lady said, Susan, there's things that you can't say, and the residents are going to blame you. And it's not a, I don't believe personally that it's a vindictive whatever. But the residents of Villa Park do not know the real Rich Keener. But thank you again, guys, and I respect you.
Okay, thanks, Cindy. Okay, anyone else would like to come up and speak? Okay,
Okay, we
thank
have
you
that
all.
email.
Oh, that's right, yes. We have one comment that was given us anonymously, so, but this was, they wanted this read into the record. So
Yeah,
Clerk
it was-
Konecki, please.
It was faxed, text over to us, yeah. I would like to express my disappointment in trustees Corkery, Kozar, Kumar, and Patrick for taking action to dismiss our village manager. This comes before everyone without cause. This could potentially put our village in a position of financial and grant chaos. The timing and process is doing the damage. I myself at times did not agree on a personal level with all the village manager has done, but I also realize that decisions are not made solely on my behalf, but for all residents. Please consider the damage that can be done by rushing into this without public input. As someone very passionate and involved in my community, I will be watching very closely. And that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so with that, we will move on to item number 4. Consider a motion to terminate the employment contract of Richard Keener pursuant to Section 22A of his employment contract without cause. And we have a motion.
Mr. President, I'd like to make that motion.
Trustee Patrick, do we have a second? Trustee Kozar. Okay, discussion, comments? Trustee Murphy.
Yes, this is Trustee Murphy. I'd like to make a motion that this item get tabled until the January meeting. This agenda was put together by a trustee, not by a village attorney. We've had no direction as a board from our village attorney, and I, if forced to vote on this, will vote against every item on here. The 4 trustees, I think it's absolutely critical that the residents be made aware that the 4 trustees who are attempting to move this forward so hastily and recklessly are the same 4 trustees who basically forced Manager Keener to push out our $10 million grant timeline to March 31st. And he was in agreement to go with them based on the fact they did not feel comfortable moving forward that quickly, and suddenly within a week's time, they like to move quick enough to terminate this contract. It's my understanding, and this is an attorney issue, not my issue, that there's a 20-week clause in the contract. Had we all acted rationally and implemented a 20-week, perhaps corrective alternative, and then made a decision, if we felt it was appropriate to not renew the contract, there would be a significantly less amount of liability. We now have not only financial and legal liability, but we now have 3 major projects, including our $10 million grant in jeopardy. So I am making a motion. I would need legal advice on what order we do this in, but I would like this tabled until the January meeting,
Okay. So
pending direction from our village attorney.
Okay, so we have a motion to table. Do we have a second?
A second.
Okay, we have a second. Any discussion on that? Trustee Kumar.
It's already true that we have received a resignation letter at this present time from Manager Keener. My concern is that by tabling this motion, we are increasing the sick days, the payment that we have to make. The resignation has been met. There is no point in increasing the amount that Villa Park has to pay out to the manager by changing the date to January 10th. This is my concern.
Okay, can we have a comment from the attorney, please? Yes.
Isn't this kind of unusual during the middle of a meeting to allow somebody not on the board to be participating in the meeting? I ask as a resident of the village.
Excuse me, sir. Would you like to stand and be recognized, please?
Steve Della Rosa, 300 South Summit, 20-year resident of Villa Park. A lot of you know me, a lot of you don't. But I find it highly unusual for the board to be allowing this. I find it highly unusual for the board not to use the check-in policy for determining who is being recorded while they're speaking as a resident of Villa Park and not. We did not get that tonight. We did not get the enforced 3-minute timeline as we get in most other meetings. I just find it highly unusual. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Village President. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm just trying to be helpful here in terms of process. Mr. Keener has not resigned his position. Because 4 trustees indicated that they were interested in terminating his employment, he worked with me to develop a document for a separation agreement. That's the only reason that was provided, was because he was told that he would be terminated otherwise, and we felt it was in everyone's best interest to have a separation agreement as opposed to a termination. Secondly, the employment agreement that I noticed earlier indicates that Rich would need to receive a notice of termination in writing if he was to be terminated. So if this vote moves forward tonight, you would be doing so in violation of his employment agreement. The notice of termination, it says, means a written notice, which A, indicates whether the termination is for cause or without cause. We already know it's without cause because you put that on the agenda notice, and the date of termination if it's different than the date of receipt of the notice. So from a process standpoint, you would have a problem if you move forward with this motion this evening.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other comments? Questions? Trustee Kozar.
So I want to thank everybody for attending. I know many of you have strong feelings, and you've shared those feelings with me over the past week and even before that, and I thank you for that. No person is all good, and no person is all bad. We're here to make a business decision, and that business decision is what is best for our village moving forward. I want to talk about the contract. So this board did not make that contract. We did not agree to that contract. But we intend to honor that contract because that is the contract that is before us. The village attorney has stated very clearly that it is the board's absolute right to terminate this contract. Looking at the contract is for an indefinite term. It does not end in April. It's not year to year. It's not a 3-year term, 5-year term. It's an indefinite term. It will go on forever. It does not end on its own. There's 2 ways to part company. The manager can either resign or be terminated. If he is terminated, it is either for cause or without cause. For cause means one of 4 reasons only. There's only 4 reasons for cause. And get this, when I read the contract, if the manager's contract is terminated within the first 6 months of a new board, apparently for any reason, including cause, he gets his full severance. So within the first 6 months, according to the contract, he could commit fraud, he could commit breach of contract, he could commit a felony, he could refuse to follow instructions by the board and still get his full severance. So you got to give him credit that he negotiated a fine contract. I propose termination without cause. What does that mean? What do we give and what do we get without cause? The contract calls for 20 weeks of severance. The state law says that is the maximum severance that can be put in a contract. In exchange for this severance, the contract calls for the manager to agree to a full release of any claim to our village. So it's a full release. Additionally, It calls for a 60 days of continued employment, of which they call the notice period. And it is during that 60 days that the notice is can be hereby given. Moreover, a week ago, we instructed the village attorney to prepare that notice. I have not seen that notice. That notice has not been served. To the best of my knowledge, that notice has not been prepared as directed by the village board. I propose putting him on paid administrative leave during this time, during the 60-day period, this notice period. It doesn't make sense to me to terminate somebody and then continue to let them have the keys to the castle. There may be arguments for termination for cause, but I don't believe that it is cost effective to make those arguments. I don't believe that it would be in the best interest of Villa Park to make those arguments. Regardless of what your feelings are about Mr. Keener, a termination for cause, a termination without cause is the higher road. He served this village for 11 years. 20 weeks, plus another 60 days, which is 8 weeks, 28 weeks of essentially severance, is about 2 weeks per year. We don't owe Mr. Keener anything other than what he contracted for. Just because of the past doesn't mean we owe something in the future. What we do owe him is the contract that he bargained for with a previous administration. We honor the decision of this board and the previous board by honoring their agreement. I'm prepared to vote on the facts and the information that I have. Last Monday, the board requested the manager's personnel file. We were told that this would not be a problem. However, it was not provided. An email was sent out that there is, quote, nothing in the file, end quote. And recently, an elected official just discarded certain village files.
Excuse me, that's not on the agenda.
Well, it's a discussion, but let's kind of let's make our discussion right now related to the motion, which is to table.
Mr. President, this is absolutely pertaining to the discussion that's on the table right now.
Oh. I don't think so, but I'll give you some. Let's continue.
Manager, excuse me, President. Manager Keener's attorney has a rebuttal.
Well, we'll let him finish, and then but let's get this done.
So, what is happening right now is what happens over and over again. This illustrates the muzzling of this board. So imagine 11 years, you're working somewhere for 11 years and you have nothing in your personnel file. We requested a public meeting with the manager's contract as the subject. The meeting agenda was published just before the 48-hour requirement as required for last Friday. But it didn't allow public debate. Nobody on this board was allowed to speak because it went straight into executive session, and that's not what we asked about.
Excuse me, but that's inaccurate.
Yeah,
the
please.
agenda was verified with our village clerk as accurate
Mr.
as it was
President.
posted on Friday.
Trustee Murphy, let's let him finish. We'll have time for rebuttal.
Will he finish?
Yeah.
Mine did it.
There's a lot of questions out here, a lot of misinformation, and everybody on this board should have an opportunity to speak without being interrupted. The agenda was published for executive session only, which does not allow any sort of public debate. We could not have this dialogue. I could not speak. Nobody on the board could speak. The trustees were effectively muzzled last Friday. So emails and calls went out to try to correct this. One trustee wanted to listen to the audio recording of the executive session to verify what was requested. They were not allowed to listen to the audio.
Now, hang on just a second. I'd like to just make a comment on that. It wasn't they weren't allowed, there was no one available to allow that.
Okay, so no one was available
Yes,
to
because
allow the trustee to listen.
because our clerk
No
is not,
problem.
you know, I mean, she wasn't here.
Sure.
She was not available to listen.
wasn't
to listen
That
to it.
is misinformation right there.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, President Canzone.
The only thing that we were allowed to do at Friday's meeting was go directly into executive session.
Just what you asked.
Then we were told that Manager Keener did not want to go into executive session with us last Friday. As you know, Friday's meeting was canceled. We had to take the legal route to get the current agenda posted for today by signing and delivering formal notice pursuant to Section 2-402. That's what brings us here today. That's why Friday's meeting was canceled. But we have to look to the future. We have a new day in Villa Park. We have a lot of projects coming up. We've got Garden Station over by the train station. We've got the proposed union at 100 South Villa. We've got revamping of Lufkin Park. And we've got the big elephant in the room, which is the $10 million grant for the recreation center. Thank you, Senator Cullerton, for getting that passed. Not to mention the less exciting projects that go on every day, like streets and lighting and maintenance. We need a new style of management. The board needs to have their decisions carried out, and the board needs accurate and timely information. The board and staff have to work together. We need strong procedures. We need new ideas. And we need a new manager's contract, one that has accountability built into it, reasonable compensation relative to the size of our village, and a reasonable severance package. The timing is right because the budget has been passed, the tax levy has been passed, and we have a small window over the holidays where things are a little bit more quiet. We have the start of the new year. I want it clear, my vote is not personal. I do not dislike Mr. Keener.
Yes, you do.
For 11 years, he's been a manager, and that's considerably more time than the average of village managers. He's made many good and great accomplishments. Let's not detract from that. He was a manager during a pandemic. There was talk about the financial health of Villa Park. He hired many staff members, very smart and capable staff members that I believe haven't risen to their full potential, and I'm looking forward to them to meet the challenge with us. Many people are reluctant to change, and I understand that. The unknown is scary. It's the most scary thing in the world, is what you don't know. What's that song about breaking up is hard to do?
Oh, come on. Can we just...
But together, we can build a better Villa Park. We can build a healthier, smarter, better functioning. We can build better communication. After this vote, I will work to bring consensus to our board. I will work at repairing relationships. And I want it to be clear, I will work to preserve and effectuate that $10 million grant. We will not lose this grant. I will work with every member on this board so that together we can build a better, more inclusive Villa Park. I believe that our current president is a good and capable man. He will captain our ship out of these choppy waters. I have faith in him, and I encourage all of you to have faith in him as well.
Enough.
I will vote to terminate this contract. I would also like to make a motion at the appropriate time to have a brief executive session after the vote to discuss the interim successor. I've spoken many times about transparency, and I don't like to meet behind closed doors. But in this case, I think the board needs to speak candidly about who is going to fill that void in the next, whatever that time frame is. And in executive session, we need to talk about how we're going to do that and what we're going to do, and there are ideas behind that that it's not appropriate to speak out in public meeting at this juncture to do so. This is a situation where executive session is warranted. A vote to terminate the manager's contract is what's best for Villa Park. Let's make these changes together, and let's build a better community.
Excuse me, President
Okay.
Counsel, I'd like to make a comment.
Go ahead.
This is Trustee Murphy. I would also like to encourage transparency. I'm all for it. So I would like some explanations and understanding of meetings that are taking place by these particular trustees outside the scope of acting as a board. I think as a board, we all need a better understanding of what our roles and responsibilities are, what appropriate actions are, and what inappropriate actions are, because it appears to be a significantly gray area.
Okay.
There are meetings being conducted with Senator Cullerton that the board is not being made aware of. There are meetings being held with developers and architects that the board is not being made aware of. So I also would like to encourage transparency from all perspectives.
Okay,
Thank you.
let's remember, we are commenting on the motion to table item number 4. So let's keep our comments to that, please. Trustee Kumar.
I feel such statements have called into account some of the integrity of the people on this board. It has not been an easy decision for the board to make to address our current manager's contract. I come from a business background. I realize the consequences. I've analyzed the numbers to a certain extent. It is a very difficult decision. We have big projects we are going into, and we need, when we address those big projects, consider complete transparency. It is my concern that if we go into a big project without communication, complete transparency, lack of accountability, and get misinformation, we will not, as trustees, be able to make a clear, concise decision on what is right for Villa Park. The decision, I think, has been made. I've been told by many members that Manager Keener is leaving. He's leaving. He made this decision. We made our choice because we feel this is best for Villa Park. This is the very, very first such decision I've made over a man's life. I can honestly say that. There was a complete lack of process as we went towards this decision. Nobody followed the process when we were handing memo after memo to various individuals on this board at this point. And this speaks to our problem. We need to improve processes in Villa Park. No longer can we sit here at the table considering that Manager Keener was a good manager or a bad manager. This is not the issue anymore. The issue is, where do we move henceforth? We need to go forward and change Villa Park for the better. We made that decision thinking it would be for the better. I still to this day stand by that decision, thinking it would be better for Villa Park. I did feel that Manager Keener has given us a great 11 years of service. He was a whiz at financial matters, and he brought to Villa Park to a solid state financially. I place a great value in this ability of his. Me and Manager Keener have never had any run-ins. None. Zero. Okay? He actually was very forthcoming to me. He was very honest with me, particularly. However, when you come into executive session, or when you are not given the right information on various factors from wherever they come from, you start to doubt the management style. You start to doubt, are we going to get what we want? Are we going to have that pool at Lufkin or that redevelopment at Lufkin the way the people want? It is very important for us to understand that We need to get what individuals want. I know every time we have to get something done, it seems like a tug of war. Do we need to have those meetings? Yes, we need to have input meetings. Can we have the input meetings? Yes, I'll tell you when they are. Let's keep them transparent. No, we'll put them in a confidential memo. This is a problem. This is a problem because we have very big projects coming up. It is concerning to me. Now, I did not, and I was not writing off Manager Keener as we speak as of 2 days ago. I got very good input from various members of previous boards on their feelings about Manager Keener. We've heard some of them speak. And I trust what they say to a certain extent, except I am a data-driven person, and I do need the data and the substantiation to decide what we should do with the manager. I put out a request, as other trustees said, to come up with the evaluations on the manager. And I cannot understand how that particular thing can be missing. I understand it may be a mistake, and this is what I've heard, but it's a very important document to me as a business person to evaluate a person year by year and determine whether he should stay, whether he should go, if he's paid right, wrong. Every place has a standard, a process for evaluating an individual. Now, I have heard there is an evaluation process. I would have liked to make this decision after seeing the evaluation process. It's not there.
Which is why it should be tabled.
It's not there. As far as the tabling is concerned, I do not feel our decision is going to change by moving it 1 week, 2 weeks. We've brought everyone in the village to see us, talk to us, address their concerns. If there was going to be a great change by moving it for 2 weeks, I might have considered it. If there was going to be a great change in terms of working with the manager, deciding a new contract, putting in performance standards, making sure things were implemented the right way in the next 3 months, I really would have been for it. I would have. But I don't get that as a possibility. So why don't we just move on, is my opinion. There is no point in just putting off the inevitable.
Okay. Anyone else? Trustee Patrick.
So, this is what the hot seat's like. It's a good thing I got my coal. Look, I don't think that I have ever been a part of a decision that has been so hard to make. And these decisions are never easy. When I was younger, my grandmother would always tell me that in the face of adversity, try and find a silver lining. No matter how hard or challenging the issue might be, no matter the names they call you, or who they portray you to be, no matter how dire the situation is. Finding that silver lining is the key to success. Now, I'm not saying that the village manager is a bad guy or that he failed us as a village. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Okay? He has had some amazing accomplishments here, and he is a good man. And that is why it makes this decision so hard. It's being able to separate the emotion from a decision that affects so many other people in this village. But within that lies a silver lining. In fact, Villa Park has many silver linings. For instance, our staff. We have some of the most talented and capable staff members here. Director Scheibel, during a global pandemic, you were able to manage a complicated web of finances to help was balance a budget during a significant crisis. Chief Rivas, your leadership within the police department has helped our community overcome many adversities, as well as keeping our officers safe and motivated. Yet at the same time, Chief Rakosnik, your leadership within the fire department continues to impress me. And I understand what it means when we ask you to do more with less. And yet, your department never disappoints me. Director Gola, you've been an essential part of bringing transparency and growth to our rec department. The public meetings that you organized for the development of Lufkin Park were some of the best I've ever seen. Director Burke, your work has helped us bring some exciting new businesses to town, and some more on the way. Director Guerrera, how you've been able to manage all of this intricate infrastructure projects that we have here. I don't know how you do it, but you're getting it done. I mean, look at Charles Avenue. It looks beautiful. Consuelo, you've helped bring our community backyard chickens and beekeeping, giving our residents an opportunity to experience enriching new hobbies. So what I'm trying to say is this: one person is not responsible for our success as a village. It's an accumulation of the leadership, professionalism, and efforts that all of our staff bring to the table. And this, if anything, tonight is our silver lining. The future of Villa Park is bright and full of potential. Together we can overcome any challenges together. Thank you.
Justice Solel.
Thank you. I'm going to make my little speech very short. I've heard transparency, silver linings. I've heard the best for Villa Park. I've heard people discussing on why, how come, what happened. I had the same questions because I wasn't part of it. I was left out. I was not considered good enough to discuss this topic. I heard about it at the last moment. I still am waiting for direction on which way to go, given the right information to make a decision. I've heard that there's so many deficiencies written down and documented for a certain amount of time, yet none of them have been put in front of me to read, to listen to base a decision on. So I'm an outsider looking in like most of you. How does that make you feel as a resident to know that one board member, possibly two, I can't speak for the others, were left out of such a major, major decision? Thank you.
Okay, Trustee Corkery.
A lot of the other trustees have already said sentiments that I echo. I just want to say to the people of Villa Park that this is a difficult decision. I understand that. This is not something I take lightly. It's probably one of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make. But I was elected by the people of Villa Park to do what's best for them, to do what's in the best interest of the town, to vote my conscience, and to do what I think is right. And I believe that this is the right thing for Villa Park going forward with everything that's happening in the town. This is the best way for us to move. I believe that, and I plan to carry it out today. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion to table item number 4. Clerk Konecki, we have a roll call on that.
Okay, Trustee Corkery?
No.
Trustee Patrick?
No.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
No.
Trustee Kozar?
No.
Trustee Salella?
Yes.
President Kazone?
Yes. Okay, do we have a motion for the
Mr. President?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we have one Patrick, 2 Kozar for the actual.
For the actual motion? Okay, so we've already got the motion out there. I think everyone's already made their comments. I'd like to just make my own here. Rich Keener's been village manager since April 18, 2021. At that time, Villa Park was still battling the effects of the 2007-2008 crash. village reserves were approximately 60 days, meaning that we had enough money to pay our bills for 60 days if no other revenue was coming in. Through sound fiscal management, belt tightening, and doing more with less, he turned us around, and now we have over 170 days of reserve available, should another economic downturn occur. He was also instrumental in helping pass the road referendum and has been overseeing the implementation of street repairs, stormwater projects, and sewer separations throughout Villa Park. I know the board is interested in making a change in that position and bringing in a new manager. It certainly is the right of the board to do that, and if a majority votes in that manner, then so let it be. I really don't understand the timing of this decision, however. It's the week of Christmas, and to devastate a man and his family at this time of year is unconscionable. I've heard many times in the past 6 months that village matters are not transparent and how we are always in a rush to get things done. What is the hurry to remove the manager? This could have been approached in January after the holidays were completed. This is especially bad timing as we are attempting to submit a plan to utilize the $10 million grant. We have the Garden Station project is almost ready to begin demolition, and we are in the process of getting a redevelopment agreement with the purchaser of the AK Mulch property. And where is the transparency when 4 trustees have been working behind the scenes to make this happen? Even when one of these trustees stated not 7 months ago that the manager and his staff have been doing a great job in getting Villa Park through the COVID crisis. I will follow whatever decision the board makes and continue to do what I stated during the past campaign. I will make decisions based on what I think is best for the residents of Villa Park. I feel this is not a good decision for Villa Park. This is a trying time for Villa Park, but we will do what we always do, persevere and move on. Do we have any other comments on the motion? Seeing none, Clerk Konecki, please.
Okay, trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Silella?
Can we clarify our vote?
This is the motion to terminate the employment contract of Rich Keener.
No.
Okay, trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
No.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
President Kazone?
No.
Okay.
And with that, that passes. So we will move on to item 5. Consider a motion to place Richard Keener on paid administrative leave during the 60 days prior written notice period as specified in section 22A of the employment contract. We have a motion on the floor.
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Corkery, we have a second. Trustee Patrick, any questions or comments? Trustee Murphy.
Yes, I would just like to go on record to say I will be voting no on all of the additional agenda items today. Once again, these agenda items were not crafted by our village attorney. They were crafted by one of the trustees, and I will not move forward with a yes vote or any proposed actions or executive sessions without direction and guidance from our village attorney. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, Clerk Kornecki, please.
Okay, trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Silella?
No.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
No.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
President Kazone?
No. Okay, with that, that passes. We'll have to work out those details at a later point with the attorney. I don't know how this affects the agreement, but we'll have to work on that at a later date.
Well, you do have...
Could you please come up?
Thank you, Mr. Village President. There are a couple of procedural issues. We still haven't resolved this issue of the notice of termination, which has not been done and was spoken to earlier as having not been completed. And the second part is you terminated an employment agreement, but you did not terminate the employee. that is problematic from a legal standpoint. So I think process-wise, you should talk to your village attorney. You should figure this out. We stand ready to negotiate a separation agreement, as we've said from the very beginning. Mr. Keener has been adamant that if a majority of the village board does not want him to continue, and I'll state again for the record, he has not resigned, but if a majority of the village board does not want him to continue, that he is willing to sit down in a fair, equitable, and elegant way to separate from the employment of the village. And he believes that this can be done without the negativity that goes to a termination. Because a termination not only negatively affects Mr. Keener and his family, it negatively affects the village. And Mr. Keener, being the professional he is for all these years, wants to do the right thing for the community he worked for 11 years. And when I tell him, I'm sure he will appreciate the kind words that you've all said about him, those that did. And I think it would be in all of our collective best interest to sit down as professionals and work this through. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 6, consider a motion to retain the firm of GovHR-Gov Temps to assist the village in connection with the search process for a new village manager and interim manager services. We have a motion on the floor. Trustee Kumar.
I would, I'll make that motion.
You making
but
that
I'll-
motion?
yeah,
Okay.
I'll
Do
make
we have a
that
second?
motion.
Trustee Corkery. Any questions, comments? Trustee Kozar.
As to that item number 6 with GovHR, GovTemps, I would be okay if we postpone that and discuss this at a later date, because I think that we need to have an executive session to discuss the interim manager, although this would be part of it. If it's brought to a vote, I will vote on it, but I would be comfortable with postponing that if anybody is uncomfortable with voting on that today.
Are you making a motion to table it?
I am making the motion to table it.
Okay, so we have a motion to table item 6. Do we have a second?
Mr. President, I'd like to second that.
Trustee Patrick? Any questions, comments on that? Okay, we should table this to a date certain. Trustee Kumar.
I have questions and comments on it.
All right.
Okay. I would like to say that it is very important in the interim. We talked about many, many things that are going to happen in our village. I do not believe a village will fall apart when one man leaves. Apple did not fall apart when Steve Jobs was gone. So I do understand that life goes on and this village will succeed. We are a very strong village and we will persevere. That being said, we do need an interim manager. I think the discussion needs to take place between not only the board, but I think I would like, very importantly, all the village staff involved at one point in this decision-making process. It is important that they weigh in. They are going to work with whoever it is, day in and day out. So before we make a decision as a board, we are going to be asking input on these factors. Not necessarily the interim, that may be short-term, but any temporary manager we hire, as well as any permanent manager we hire, will not be hired without the full input from everybody in this village. Everyone, okay? Everyone on staff will have a say, and this is very important to me overall as we move forward.
Okay, so on this table, are we going to table to a date certain, or are we going to leave it open-ended?
We can table to January 10th.
Okay, so the motion is to table until January 10th, item number 6.
Yes.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I will not be able to attend that meeting. Just heads up.
Okay.
For reasons that I cannot change.
Okay.
President,
Yes.
can we still say something? If Manager Solella is not able to attend that meeting, I would prefer, and he has said he has been left out of the board, that he be able to attend any meeting forward that we make such decisions on.
So you want to take that January 10th off?
Yes, we can
So just leave it open-ended?
leave it open-ended, please.
Okay, we will table that indefinitely. Do we have any other questions or comments? Trustee Kozar.
I would like to make a motion that we have an executive session here tonight to discuss personnel matters.
Just to interrupt, how about we do that after 7? After item 7?
Sure.
Just to keep continuity here?
No problem.
Okay. Okay, so we have a motion and a second to table open-ended item number 6. Clerk Konecki, please.
Okay. Trustee Solella?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
President Cassell?
Yes. Okay, so we will table that indefinitely. Item number 7, consider a motion to retain attorney special legislative counsel to assist the Board of Trustees in connection with the transition to a new village manager. We have a motion for this. Trustee Kumar.
I have, I want to make a motion to table this in a similar fashion to a date. Uncertain.
Okay, do we have a second to table this? Trustee Patrick. Okay, questions, comments? Okay, Clerk Kornecki, motion to table item number 7.
Okay, Trustee Solella?
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Will it be date certain or?
It's open-ended.
Open-ended.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
President Cassell?
Yes. Okay, so that we will table open-ended. Okay, Trustee Kozar.
So I would like to make a motion that we enter into an executive session to discuss personnel matters, and more specifically, to discuss the interim manager and how we should proceed with that.
Yeah.
No.
We're allowed to do that. I did confer with our village attorney about that we are allowed to, the board is allowed to make a motion from the floor, or from the dais to do that. Yeah. Okay, so we have a motion to adjourn the executive session. Do we have a second? Trustee Kumar?
I will second that motion.
Okay, any questions, comments on that? Trustee Murphy?
Yes, I have a question and a comment. Is this a good decision? And is there, I mean, are there liabilities in doing this without our village attorney present? I personally will not be attending without representation from our village attorney.
Oh, I mean, I don't know if we're just going to discuss. I don't know if we would make any votes on this tonight without discussing things with staff. I think staff has to be brought in on that. But
And
we
I
can
think
at
we
least,
need
I mean, we
attorney
can discuss it.
representation.
I would not want to vote tonight on an interim manager until staff has been approached.
And I don't think there should be any discussion moving forward on anything without representation and direction from our village attorney.
No.
Thank you.
And I agree with that.
An attorney is needed to keep us on track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need an attorney.
Yeah.
To make sure that we're still not
That's true.
violating.
Yeah. Trustee Corkery?
Where is the attorney?
Not present tonight. They were both busy, and I guess they had no one else available.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, Hosanna.
But yeah, I agree. I agree with you that we should not do this going into executive session tonight without conferring with staff and getting them involved in that. So, but that's my opinion. Anyone else? Trustee Solano?
I agree.
Okay. Trustee Kozar?
I disagree. We're disciplined enough, we can stay on task.
No.
It's important
No.
to have a conversation as to how we're moving forward. Again, we can't be muzzled, and we have to be able to talk and have a conversation. And we need, if you think it's best, does it make sense to have a public debate on this and talk about employees of the village and why or why not we think that a certain route is good to go? I don't think it makes sense, because we need to be able to speak freely and figure this out. And personnel matters is one of the reasons why you go into a executive session, so that things can be spoken about candidly. And then after that executive session, we can come out, and if we agree and want to talk about, you know, the general of what we talked about in there, we can do that. That would lend to transparency. But I don't want to embarrass anybody or put anybody on the spot as we talk about how we're going to fill that role. So this, like I said, I'm not a fan of doing things behind closed doors, but this is an appropriate time for that. And as to the attorney not being here, Mr. Castaldo, Attorney Castaldo, who was here last time with us, is a member of a rather large firm with many attorneys, and he had said that if he's not available or Kathy's not available, he could send in another attorney in his firm. I find it hard to believe that of the, is it maybe 20 attorneys that are part of that firm, that not one of them is available tonight?
This is what I was told. Maybe they had attorneys available, maybe not qualified for this type of work. I don't know. That's what I was told.
This is Trustee
However,
Murphy. Can I have the floor?
Yeah, I just want to make one comment. I'm not opposed to going into executive session to discuss this. I just don't want to go into it tonight because we have no idea what staff's feelings are on this, and I would prefer to talk to staff first before we discuss an interim that's going to be coming from that staff. Trustee Murphy.
Yes, I just want to make a comment that I have been in several executive sessions where we start on point, and there are very specific guidelines regarding what can and cannot be discussed in executive session. Being part of that, it's not difficult whatsoever to have the conversation drift into an area that is not appropriate for executive session and should be discussed in an open meeting. In which case, we would then be in violation of the Open Meetings Act. I am not in agreement whatsoever without going into an executive session without an attorney that can keep the agenda on target to ensure that we do not violate the Open Meetings Act as a group. Thank you.
Trustee Kumar.
I am in favor with involving the staff, certainly, as you said, President Zone. I would like to know as to the process of how we plan to do that. It is important that all board members are involved in that process, and it is not just a set of people. They have to understand we're on their side. We're going to work together.
Yep.
We're going to make it happen. So please tell me as to how we're going to do that.
What I would propose is I would meet with the staff and see what their feelings are, and then bring it back to the board as to their comments, and then we can, meet again in an executive session and discuss it. But like I say, tonight, I mean, we may pick someone tonight that we think should be the interim manager, and they're going to say, no, I don't want that. I wouldn't take that job for $1 million. So that's why I think we should forego it, at least for tonight. Now, in the future, yeah, once we get some information, yes, then we can make that decision in executive session. But like I say, I'd rather see who would be willing to do that, and who would be qualified to do that, and who would be willing to step up. Okay. Trustee Kozar.
If we don't have an executive session, how do we have a discussion about even whose name to put in the hat?
Well, like I say, I mean, if I talk to staff and I'll get names of people that would be interested in doing it, and then we can discuss that and we can discuss their qualifications in executive session. But tonight, we've got a lot of people on staff that would, that we can discuss as being qualified, but we may make that decision, and when we approach them, they're gonna say no. So why do it tonight? Why not get the information first, instead of wasting time tonight?
Because I'm not suggesting that we make a decision tonight. I'm simply suggesting that we have a conversation to that, so you as our leader and our president have an understanding of where the board comes from and what the thoughts of the board may be, so that you can go out there and talk to various people and you have an understanding of what our concerns are, or what we would like to see, or what our objectives would be. And then you can make great decisions or better decisions by having that information to be able to do it.
Okay. Trustee Salala.
Just a question. I understand requesting input from staff and from board members and the like. What I don't understand is what has past practice been for hiring a village manager? How much input in the past has been compiled from outside sources? How complex would that make it, bringing in too many to make a decision?
What's my understanding in the past when we hired Manager Keener is an interim manager was brought in. It was a retired manager from another town. He was brought in to run day-to-day until the search company was able to come up with a qualified person. Sure. If you would come up and speak here, please.
My last year with the village, we actually had 4 village interim managers. We had Kevin Dabrowski when Bob Neiman was encouraged to retire, followed by Vitas Jaskaldas, who was director of public works, who did an amazing job, but he didn't want that job. And then we had the guy from St. Charles or Geneva for a while, who was here when Keener was hired. It was a search company that narrowed it down to, I believe it was 5 candidates. Initially, Mr. Keener missed his interview because his father had passed away, but he did eventually make the interview, and he's the one that was selected. But it was a long year, let me tell you. A very long year for where I sit. Because I had worked with Bob Neiman forever. I knew his management style, and the other 3 were like in, this many directions. So it's a process, and my heart goes out to staff because it's, and to you guys, because it's, again, learning management style, of whatever. But my retirement from the village was 8 weeks into Rich's tenure, and again, I had worked for the village part-time, full-time for 44 years. I started in Parks and Rec, selling hot dogs and supervising ice skating when I was in high school, through teaching classes, through administrative secretary to the director of Parks and Rec to the manager's office. And he came in one morning and said, "Do you ever think about retiring?" I said, "Yeah, in about 6 years." And he said, "No, I was thinking now." So this is his style. And there you go. Talk about without cause.
Okay.
So
Okay, thank you. Okay. Trustee.
Your turn.
Sure.
Will Mr. Keener be getting something in writing tomorrow from the village stating exactly what his status is?
I will speak to our attorney and see exactly what we need to do to follow up on that.
I think in fairness, that would be
Yeah.
something that we would
Right.
like to see happen. There are some financial situations that have to be resolved, and we'd like to see that done as quickly as possible.
No, I will be speaking with the attorney, if not tonight, first thing in the morning.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank
One more question. You guys were talking about how contract is, blah, 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 blah. Until forever ago, it has always been, and I don't know if it was policy, if it was ordinance, if it was state statute, but it had always been a situation of the manager's contract was good for as long as the sitting president. So like every 4 years, that contract was reviewed. All of a sudden, that went away. Sometime, I guess when Keener came is when that went away. I don't know where, but that had always been forever kind of the village, as I said, I don't know if it was ordinance, if it was state statute, whatever it was, but that was how things had operated in the past. So that every 4 years, whoever's sitting in that chair and the newly elected trustees had a better opportunity to review the performances, et cetera, to know whether or not that person should be retained. So just for the people that asked that, that's why.
All right, thank you. Trustee Kozar.
I just had, hopefully, one last question. Is it Lombardi?
Lombardi, right.
Mr. Lombardi? Are you an attorney?
I am not.
So you're here not as an attorney representing Mr. Keener?
I am here representing Mr. Keener.
How do you do that if you're not an attorney?
I don't need to be an attorney. I was a city manager for 35 years. I've been involved in local government for over 40. I understand.
I don't need your CV.
I understand how cities work.
I'm just asking a question. You're not an attorney.
I don't have to be an attorney to represent Mr. Keener.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Clerk Kornecki, roll call on going to executive session.
Okay, Trustee Murphy?
No.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Silella?
No.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
If it's only discussion, yes.
President Kazone?
No. Okay, so it looks like we will go into executive session. We will close the meeting in executive session, so we will not return here. So thank you, everyone, for coming out. Have a very happy holidays, be safe, and we will see you next year.